When I was doing a bit of shopping, there weren't many boyfriend seats, which definitely impeded how much I spent at those stores.
This week in e-commerce, episode 109. I am Chia. Alex, how are you?
I am well, Mel. How are you going?
I'm good. Enjoying the sunshine. Hopefully this means that spring is here finally in mid-October. I'm so very excited. I was out over the weekend, spending time out in the sun with the kids, kicking the footy around, even though AFL season is over. Although AFLW season is still on.
Yes, yeah, it is. I watched a little bit of that at the pub. I spent the weekend at Burnside Shopping Centre on Sunday, looking at all the new stores in Adelaide. It was really awesome experience. Shout out to Coco Republic, who have their furniture store, and then they've got a cafe inside their furniture store, so you can sit there, try their fabulous furniture, really get that kind of wear and tear.
That's fantastic. I remember growing up, Freedom Furniture used to have the cafe inside where you could just go and help yourself. So as kids, we would just go in there and just help ourselves to like hot chocolate, biscuits, chocolates, whatever else they had there, while my mum would go around and buy homeware, which we didn't need.
Yeah, and very great for kids, right? Like you need them to be involved in that journey. Otherwise, it's a nightmare to go shopping. So that's a great.
Absolutely. But you got to think about that. It's like going to IKEA. They've got the ball pit there for kids when you are.
Yeah. Or I'll even say we've got to think about the boyfriends. When I was doing a bit of shopping, there weren't many boyfriend seats, which definitely impeded how much I spent at those stores because I was conscious that I had a partner ready to get out of there.
You see, you just need a lounge with a TV with sports on, and your boyfriend's looked after for a little while.
Literally. And then hopefully he'll pay at the end.
Yeah. All right. That's a hot tip for any retailers listening. If you want to get your female customers to shop more, put a TV on there with sports.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. We've got a huge episode, so we're going to dive into it. We've got some great topics, including Simon Beard's latest venture and also talking about the new digital product passport, which has been introduced. But before we get into that, I do need to give a bit of a plug to the Inside Retail Top 50 in e-commerce, which nominations are open for now. Now, this is brought to you by Australia Post. It is one of the most prestigious retailer awards in Australia. So if you are a retailer or know someone who's an amazing retailer in this space, online retail, please make sure that you do nominate. Just head to the Inside Retail website for that. The judging panel includes such very noted people as Anna Samkova, Nicola Clement, Mark Bartz, and apparently me. So I will be on there judging.
So you a lineup of really great people, including myself.
Well, I don't know how I made that list, but it is one of my favorite things to do each year. So I'm very excited to go through my 50 or so nominations, which I have to review. It's also always a lot of fun to see what people are up to.
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite parts of the retail year, if I'm honest, is the top 15 e-commerce, nominating all of our clients. Would definitely encourage anybody to get involved.
Yeah. All right. Our first story of the day, as I mentioned before, is Simon Beard is up to a new venture. He's been teasing this on LinkedIn and Instagram for the last week or so. And when he does something, he doesn't do it by halves, does he? Because he is launching the Creator Army via a live stream tomorrow on Tuesday, the 14th of October. Now, it's a new platform to train and connect full stack content creators with brands.
Yeah, it's an awesome idea from Simon. And as you said, he doesn't do things half-assed. So we know it's going to be really well formed out of the bag.
Do you think there's a space in the market for this? Like, is there a real need for this? Because there's a lot of content or creator platforms out there already, which kind of connect creators with brands such as Billo, Gifted, and many others. How do you think Simon's going to be able to position this to cut through?
That's a good question. I think the argument there a little bit is there's so much trust in Simon. He's an amazing operator. So if he feels like there's a need, then I kind of trust that judgment. But what do you think now?
Look, I think there's definitely a huge need for it. We keep talking more and more about what is going to feed the content engine is more creative. And in particular, having creators consistently seems to be the highest performing creative out there. So having a platform which helps creators create better content and then allow brands to better connect with them, I think it's a win-win for both sides. I always worry about the saturation point when everything looks the same. So hopefully this can keep people, coming up with new ways to create content, because you got to admit, some of the creator content you see out there can be a bit samey sometimes.
Absolutely. And with the changing environment, with these different apps and social media, I think it's a great space for that continued learning and seeing what's working now and kind of pivoting rather than just putting out that same old.
Yep. So hop on the live stream tomorrow. Well, actually, this will come out after the live stream. So hopefully, if I have time, I will jump onto the live stream and find out more and report back next week.
Look forward to it.
All right, Kooki, which is a brand which was all over the place when I was growing up, have returned to the UK. Now, Kooki, for a lot of you don't know, they're an Australian brand which are very French-inspired fashion. They have been out of the UK market for the last decade, but now they're returning with their first store in over 10 years, which is going to be opening in London in 2026.
Yeah, this is exciting news. I didn't realize the brand was actually founded in France and now is Australian owned, and we know it is an Australian brand. Shout out to the Kooki team as well. They're amazing. They're a client. I'm excited to see this roll out. I think Europe's a great space for them. Their stores are always really well developed, so it's going to be exciting times.
And the interesting thing is that I didn't realize that they were running under license previously. So this is their first entry back in where it's going to be totally corporately owned. So that should be interesting as well to see how they are able to express the brand more naturally, I guess, without having a third party representing the brand over in the UK.
Exactly. Express it themselves, but then still have that localization element. So they've got that to face, but it's good that they've got the control.
I got to say, UK retail is on fire right now with a lot of brands opening up really humongous stores and really impressive stores in the UK high street. So it appears that, at least on the ground, the appetite for retail is still very, very high. Then again, you have a lot of very, very rich people in the UK as well who can afford it.
Yeah, and I think it's just that accessibility to the rest of Europe once you're in the UK and you're established there too, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and our last quickie for the day is going to be looking at Famous Footwear, which they are closing. They have closed down all 17 Famous Footwear stores across Australia, and will be keeping their online store open till the end of the year. Now, for Famous Footwear, I got to say, I'd barely even heard of Famous Footwear. I'd seen the name a couple of times, but it hadn't really registered
Yeah,
that how famous they were or not, or weren't, as far as I was concerned.
I think the same. And what surprised me was 17 stores. I was like, oh gosh, didn't realize that. It's a bit alarming that we didn't know about it in the first place.
Well, I think that's part of the problem because they're saying that, there was intense competition, consumer behavior was changing. But I just think it comes back down to the fact that no one knew who they are. They were just, I'm assuming, a low cost generic footwear retailer without any real point of difference. And it's hard to survive, in that when you don't have that point of difference from your competitors, especially with a name like Famous Footwear. And both of us didn't even really know who they were.
Yeah, and like that point of difference is hard for any business, but particularly in those single category like footwear, differentiation is tough.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. You need to have a great brand like a JD Sports, like we talked about last week, or a Foot Locker, where people know exactly why they're going to come to you. All right, our first deep dive for the day is one which I'm very excited about, which is a digital product passport. Now, many, many months ago, the EU passed new regulations whereby 2030, products like apparel will need to have some degree of being able to have the traceability and transparency around where it's from, how it can be disposed of, so that you have more transparency. Oh my Lord, I'm not even able to talk properly today, across the entire fashion supply chain. So in Bangladesh, they're going to be debuting with this, which is a initiative between Fashion for Good, H&M, and Reverse Resources, where they're launching this digital product passport where any products made from this factory in Bangladesh will be able to have this full traceability.
So it's
Alex, what do you think?
so I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So it's like the tag on clothes where it's talking about the percentage of material and that kind of thing and how you wash the product, that but digital version, and it's that focus on the sustainability where this product came from is my understanding, right?
And what it's made out of, where everything's come from. So the way I'm reading it is that it's going to be a bit like the nutritional info on the back of food packets, but for clothing. So every garment, you'll be able to scan a code, which will then show that full passport of where this product has come from, all the different countries where materials have been sourced from, the type of labor which has been used, the factory where it was made, so that you've got that full traceability. So a customer can scan anything which they own and be able to instantly see that to know whether was this made ethically, was this made sustainably, and also then how can you dispose of it as well. So I think this is a huge step forward, obviously with textile waste being such a big contributor to climate change and a lot of environmental issues as well, that this is a huge step forward to actually start forcing people to actually level up and being more conscious about what they're actually producing, because it's going to be more transparent. Where right now you could buy a garment and you have no idea where it's come from. It just says made in Bangladesh, made in China, made in India, and you just don't know. But now everyone will be able to know. The next step is, are people going to be able to read that information?
Or care, like when people buy products that they know that aren't sustainable, that haven't been made ethically, but are cheap. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it's used. I think it's great to have that in the consciousness and to be aware of where something's came from, how many hands have been on that. I think that does provide value for brands as well. So yeah, I think it's a really good initiative.
Yeah, look, I think especially for luxury brands, they do need to play in this space, because one of the big criticisms recently over the last few months of luxury brands, if you look at Bruno Cucinelli, for instance, and LVMH with their cashmere brand as well, falling afoul of people's expectations because they were buying these very, very expensive products and then finding out later it was made in a sweatshop in China for someone who's working for like $5 a day. And that doesn't meet the expectation, where suddenly you've devalued your brand because of that. By having this transparency, if you can provide that provenance of your products, hopefully you can then actually justify your margin on that as well, because you can show that whole supply chain, that whole value chain, which people have gone through before it lands in your hands. And you can see, yes, I get why I'm paying so much for this.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting in this case that it's coming from the producers of the fabric rather than the brands themselves. So I think brands can take this digital product passport from their stockists or supply chain rather, and then bring that to life more in terms of that product and that value prop.
And you're right. Like when you look at this factory in Bangladesh, what they're doing is signaling. They're signaling that, hang on, like we are on board with this. We trust our supply chain. We know that the supply chain we've gone through is up to scratch for the EU regulations. So come buy from us. So if you're potentially looking to buy fabric from anyone around the world, you could be looking at these guys if you do want to make sure you're doing the right thing. So I think it's a great example of being able to add value to your brand and signal that you are a more premium option than someone who doesn't offer that.
100%. And they're not playing when it comes to the tariffs and everything that's going on at the moment. Like Bangladesh are really putting themselves here, say, hey, we're a great solution where we don't have these tariffs in place. So I think it's awesome that they've, like you said, like the signals that they're ready. They're a great option.
And speaking of tariffs, what a segue, because over the weekend, I woke up Sunday morning to find out that there is now an additional 100% tariff imposed on Chinese goods coming into the US. Now, Donald Trump announced this, so who knows whether this is actually going to happen or not, but I'm assuming it will, because he's been fairly bullish of anything, not so much releasing files, but definitely on tariffs. He's very much big on doing that. November the 1st, this new tariff comes into place, and it is in retaliation for the restrictions on the export of rare earth minerals into other countries from China. Now, China are doing this obviously to control the supply of those essential minerals which are required for semiconductors and other tech products. And Trump doesn't like this, so he's slapped on a 100% tariff. Now, I thought we were kind of over this and things were kind of settling down, but man, the roller coaster continues, because this is going to have a significant impact. And overnight, the markets dropped very significantly off the back of this announcement. I think they pledged something like several $billion. I think about 2 point something billion US was wiped off the entire crypto market in a very short period of time. So there's a lot of impacts around this as this volatility continues.
It's interesting that you brought up the crypto drop, because I was aware of that. I just didn't realize that this was the reason for that drop. We were talking about that on Sunday. Yeah, I also thought we were past this. It's obviously volatile and always changing. So, I mean, we'll see what happens in November 1st, if it's still on his mind by then or if it's moved on to something else.
Yeah, well, look, there's a lot of posturing going on, and he's threatening not to meet Xi Jinping, the president of China, over some planned talks which they have, as well as some other threats around China and what they will or won't do around this. So there doesn't seem to be an easy answer in sight, and it's something which everyone needs to watch out for. I know that in the US, a lot of retailers are already hurting, having to import their products from China. They haven't been able to change their supply chains away from China to other countries like Bangladesh. So very much reliant on China as being the manufacturing hub. And that puts a lot of cost onto them. And they're not doing well already. There are a lot of retailers who are struggling, and their business, even after the tariffs, have not picked up, because it just isn't just affordable to be able to move manufacturing back to the US, right? And again, this will continue to affect us, because any retailer selling into China, we're also affected. So into the US with Chinese made products are going to continue to be affected by this. So that 30% now is 130%. And I got to say, in the last couple of months, we've started to actually see the US bounce back a little bit. So a lot of the brands I work with who sell into the US, they have seen the demand start to pick up there, once things started to stabilize. But this is going to throw things out again.
Yeah. And coming into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, biggest month of the year, November, some would argue. Yeah, it's really concerning. What do you think? What's the advice to brands at the moment?
Well, there's not really a whole lot you can do, but you should be looking at diversifying your supply chains already. So rather than just relying on China to source everything from, start to look into other markets just so you are diversified, or start to look into domestic fulfillment. So fulfilling from the US market. I know a lot of brands who are in the process of that, starting to ship a lot of products over there. So we're kind of getting to that point and people starting to think like that. But in terms of peak, there's nothing you can do. That horse is bolted. And unless you're doing it already, it's unlikely you're going to be able to diversify supply chain or get a 3PL up and running in the next month.
Yeah, okay.
All right. And our final story for the day is Gap and Google Cloud have announced a multi-year AI partnership. Now, Alex, tell me about this one.
Yeah, I thought this one was interesting. So Gap have signed, as you said, a multi-year contract with Google, which allows them to utilize different parts of the Google tech stack. So all AI-based, so Gemini, Vertex AI, and BigQuery, which is that data warehouse piece. I think what kind of struck me as interesting on this story was that they're looking to integrate AI across things like their product development, their product planning, pricing, those types of models for the business. Where in my mind, I think AI and I think, okay, they're going to do their creative, they're going to do their model imagery, but now we're starting to see it more move into true R&D planning. It's an exciting one.
Yeah, and the headline as well was saying that AI will reinvent the retail landscape. And I think you're right. We look at things from a creative standpoint and a product development and things like that, but there's so many other applications for AI. You know, even in Australia, we're now using AI in the education sector to help kids learn. And that's a great use of AI to be able to enhance that learning rather than to replace it and let people just chat GPT a whole essay. So to see brands start to think of AI in this capacity about how do they use it to augment what they're currently doing rather than to replace what they're doing, I think is fantastic.
Yeah. And 100% agree. I think that there's a lot of operational changes that need to be made to support this. It'll be interesting to see how Gap really leans in to make the most out of this, because it sounds like it's going to make a big impact to the general structure of their business.
Yeah, and they're using every single part of the Google AI stack as well. So Gemini, Vertex AI, BigQuery, like you said before. And if you have all those things integrated, I'd be curious to see where this ends up and how this actually helps enhance their business rather than taking away jobs.
Well, yeah, you definitely think of that, and the people that used to be in the spreadsheets no more. Um, It'll be interesting to watch. They've got Gap, Old Navy, Banana Republic, and Athleta. I've never heard of Athleta before. So a few brands to watch over the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I know that I'm using AI a lot already for more of that monitoring piece to identify when, there are anomalies in the data and help to alert me. That has helped save a lot of time in terms of having to go into dashboards and things like that to identify what those issues are. It just surfaces the issue for me and then I can then work on solving the problem, sometimes with the help of AI. But I did see something this morning, which I shared with you, which is a brand. I'll share this on LinkedIn because I don't want to call them out without doing some further research. But it was a product which looked great. It was like a vintage bomber jacket with NBA logos on it. I thought, wow, this is fantastic. This is right up my alley. But when I started taking a look at the product really closely, I realized that some of the logos were completely wrong. There were logos which didn't even exist in an NBA team. And some of the lifestyle imagery, someone was standing in front of a fridge in a convenience store. And when you looked at the drinks in the background, it looked like Coke, but it was spelt something completely different. Red Bull was like Rad Bull or something. And I was like, hang on, this isn't quite right. And I started to dig into it a little bit more, went through the different images on the website. It was all AI. So my suspicion is that this is a scam and it's an AI. They've just done AI creative for this. And these products don't even exist because there's no mention of a properly licensed NBA product. And even the NBA logo looked wrong as well.
I only spent 2 minutes looking at that this morning, but what alarmed me was their Instagram account had 40,000, 50,000 followers. So that for me is always that, okay, they're verified. There's a bit of credibility here, a following. We know you can buy followers, but from the outset, it looks legit until you dive in deeper.
Yeah, and I went to report them to Shopify, and there was no easy way to actually report it. You actually had to log in with a Shopify account to be able to report another store, which I think is a bit of a miss as far as Shopify is concerned, particularly with the number of scams. We should be making it easier for people to report websites which are potentially dodgy, because you don't want people going there, buying from there, getting ripped off, and then thinking twice when they buy from a legitimate retailer.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the danger here.
Yeah. So if anyone from Shopify is listening, take that on notice that we'd love to see an ability for the general public to be able to report a store quickly, which they suspect is running a scam.
It's a good call out.
All right. A very quick one today, but that's all we have time for on This Week in E-commerce. Alex, this week ahead, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to visiting Auckland. So I'm flying off tomorrow, get back over the weekend. I have the Unified Commerce Assembly event on Thursday. I haven't been over the ditch in a couple of years. So yeah, I'm really excited.
What a great name, the Unified Commerce Assembly.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. What have you got on, Mal? What are you looking for?
This week, I'm going to be in Sydney this week, so meeting up with a few different clients, but then also attending the Zipline Future of E-commerce dinner on Wednesday night, which I'm really looking forward to.
You'll have to report back on what that future looks like.
Absolutely. All right. In the meantime, keep innovating, keep growing, and keep selling, and we'll be back next week.
See ya.